Hey there, this is Vospi, and this is another of my Cardinal toys that are considered educational and you can use in your browser or in your DW like I am right now. This one is very easy to use and I'll just a little bit tricky to explain. So I'll just show you the usage and then you'll be free to explore the patch. So that's the kind of sounds it does. You can switch between two different sounds. That's okay, pretty self-explanatory. And you can also Control E to enable the reverb right there, like this. You can mess with the settings if you'd like. Like that, for example. Feel free to sample these, to use these in your productions, etc. So at this point, if you're not curious on how this thing actually works, you can just skip the video, download the patch in the description, and go on and play. I'd be happy. But I'll explain what happens right there. So let's start from the end, not from the beginning. This is the audio output. If I disable this module, you don't hear anything. Control E, you don't hear anything. This is a filter that I'm using to limit the highs. I won't go deeper into that, and also I don't have too much specific knowledge about the filter, but it appears to control highs as maybe a multi-band wave shaper does. Just a little bit if you dial it the right way. So I did that just to maybe protect an ear or two if you just fire it up in your browser, I guess. But other than that, it's not like a big problem. You can still use it without the thing. But yeah, maybe it is a big problem. All right. So this is what is called an envelope generator paired with a amplifier. So right now you can hear this constant stream of consciousness that is really produced up there. So it does not, in here we do not produce percussive sounds at all. We just produce this whatever it is. Two options of it. We'll come back to that later. But in here, we're doing that. Bam, bam, right? This springy sounding tones. We're just shaping the volume of the sound in a certain way, amplitude to be exact. So you can make it different. Just to understand how it works, you can plug something different in there, or you can disable it completely, Control E again, to just have, again, a constant stream of very strange sounds. It does not do the tempo sync by itself. It does not tick by itself. You need something to trigger it right there. And for that, I'm using a square LFO. Sometimes I know we musicians are used to BPM counters, just regular ones, but you can just fire up a very slow square LFO like that. Nothing special. And once it comes up, I believe it triggers a thing. There. Doubles basically as a gate in the modular terminology. So, right there. As you were. This is called a switch. So you've plugged in maybe two different options for your signal, and then you switch between them. I use it all the time for educational purposes, because that's how I can compare two different sounds, for example, or two different options, to different routing options, to different sources, etc. You can for sure have switches that have more than two inputs, but I find this one very comfortable to use and very small, so it's fine. Just switch like that, but be sure to enable this latch thing. By the way, you can switch the thing by something else being like maybe the square wave again. Let's make another LFO just to demonstrate, but make it a bit quicker. And it will change the waveform while we're doing the ping. So it'll sound very strange and broken, but it will illustrate my point. Once the trigger is there, the thing switches. Like that. So that might be used for randomness, controlled randomness of some sort. For example, you might use two different sources of pitches, and then you switch between them in certain points of your quote-unquote composition if you are running some sort of sequence in there. So let's get back to the constant stream of consciousness. We have two of them. Let's start with the red, because it sounds more awful. This type of synthesis is called PM, phase modulation. We'll unplug these. I'll tell you later. This is the sort of sound you get. It's pretty nice, if you ask me, especially if it's low. If it's high, it's pretty unpleasant. And I think if you don't understand all of that, you can ignore it for now. But later, if you want to come back to this combination and understand exactly what it is, just pay attention to what goes there. What is the output? And that the output sums with something else and comes back into the sound as a modulator. Basically, these are oscillators that you can what is called phase modulate. So you kind of tinker with its phase, it comes back and forth, and it comes back and forth very fast if you modulate it with an audio source, as we do right there, and that creates a completely different timbre. So if I just unplug that, we'll hear just the simplest tone, almost a sine wave. And this is the power of your modulation. You can hear clearly why I didn't crank it up all the way. So this is one oscillator and this is another oscillator, and they kind of cross-modulate, so they influence one another, as you can see. So that produces a certain range palette of sounds. By the way, if you break something by experimenting, and if you'd like to just reopen the patch, you can use this command. It just says revert. All right. So let's stop at something. Okay. All right. So let's look at, we're done basically with the green chord. The one thing I should add is the chords that I've just unplugged. These are random pitches, and they are determined by what is called a walk modulation. Walk modulation is pretty self-explanatory, really. It goes different ways. Sorry, wrong. There we go. So it slowly goes up or down. In here, you can see that it is polyphonic, meaning there are many channels. And I use that because I want these to be changing over time. And just by virtue of their pitch changing, you'll get their timbres changing. That's the interesting part, to me at least it is. There it goes. One. We're changing only the one that you hear. And now let's only change the modulating one that you don't hear normally. So, as you might imagine, if we modulate both, the stuff gets pretty unpredictable, and we didn't even tweak any of the other things. We didn't modulate them or anything of that sort. So, now it's time to move to the green thing. The green thing would be very, very easy to understand. Let's listen to it. You can hear crackles right now, right? Because it's a very slow square wave, that's why. The fast one, you'll recognize instantly. Once again. it randomizes the pitch. So it goes up and down in this smooth manner. That's why it's almost listenable, let's say. But we modulate this thing with a whole red block, like that. There. And that creates a very different set of sounds, depending on what we modulate. By the way, in this oscillator, you can also use other outputs, but I've just found that square sounded more game-ish, so to speak, like an SFX from an unknown computer game. But of course, it's not aimed to mimic any kind of chip. There you go. It's a triangle that is FM'd. This oscillator is pretty expensive in terms of CPU, but I think it's great. It sounds great. It's oversampled in some way that I am not clever enough to understand, but it's good, basically, for an FM oscillator. It does not produce harsh overtones unless you really, really press into it and lean into it, and if you ask it to produce very high-pitched sound, like bump the octave a bunch and then just up the thing, then it's there, right? And also, like, exponential FM usually produces this kind of warbly, gargly sounds. That's another reason why I chose the square. There you go, sounds more distorting. And basically, that's the end of it. All three of those modules just do this one single task of creating this many random channels, and then this module splits them into separate ones, so we could use them in different destinations. Then you just plug that back in, and you get your percussions, or whatever the hell that is. Okay, I kind of broke it. Revert. There you go. So, of course, this is all just nothing of that is set in stone. Play around, reconnect things, add other oscillators, make a different VCA shape in the envelope generator. To me, the point was to just listen to different pings in the background while I'm working, or sampling those, or getting curious with how good are these oscillators. And if you are fine with the shape of this and with the speed of these, you can basically plug anything in here and enjoy, if you're enjoying that kind of stuff. I know it's not musical enough, but it's tinkering, and that's what some of us love. Have fun. See ya. You can download Cardinal for free, and you can use it in your browser. You can open this patch without a DAW. So be sure to follow the link. See ya.